Good evening and welcome back into Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex. Sort of right before we started recording the show, we got some news about Kirk Cousins, who went on Good Morning Football and said, hey, guess what, guys? After week 10, when I started sucking, well, guess what? I was injured. I had an elbow injury. I had a shoulder injury. And actually, if you listen to this show, Mark Zinno said that exact thing, that he was injured after that Saints game. So shout out Mark Zinno, who will be on with us later this week, I'm guarantee you, to talk about this exact topic along with maybe Myles Garrett and some other stuff. So shout out him because he's 100% right. This confirms what he said on the show. So you heard it here first. But Alex, I know you got some big opinions. There's a lot of different things to unpack about this specific. It was just one sentence, but at me, it has a lot of meaning in a bunch of different ways.
Yeah, I mean, it impacts this Falcons organization in so many different ways. First of all, it kind of gives you a little bit of comeuppance, sort of, so to speak. Like, we should have made the playoffs. Like, whether Kirk didn't get injured or we'd gone to Michael Penix earlier, like, we should have made the playoffs. Also, it impacts everybody's opinion about Raheem Morris. It also impacts the, prospect of trading Kirk Cousins. And, I'm going to dig into the meat and potatoes of at least what I think I took away. My knee-jerk reaction is, I don't know what more we need to see. I don't know what more proof you need that Raheem Morris is not the guy. Raheem Morris has showed you plenty of times during this season in which it wasn't his very first season as a head coach where we could give him some grace. It's his first time as a rookie head. It wasn't his first stint as a head coach. He is not the guy. I mean, even outside of the in-game management, this alone, how he handled the quarterback situation is indefensible. And some people, I've already had people reaching out to me on Twitter going, well, what if Kirk told him he wasn't injured or this or that? Okay, let's just play out the scenario. We get back to Atlanta after the New Orleans Week 10 game, and Kirk Cousins is clearly feeling it. Raheem Morris has been around the game long enough to know that, there's a difference between being injured and just being hurt. And in the NFL, you got to play through injuries. There's no question about it. He goes, Kirk, what do you think? Kirk goes, I can play through it. You trust your guy. You go out there. You see after that, he looks really bad. We'll give it one more week. He looks really bad. Okay, I know that if I bench Kirk Cousins, I probably can't go back to Michael Penix. I'm going to give it one more game. Then we lose 4 in a row. That was 4 in a row in which Kirk Cousins did not throw a touchdown and threw 8 interceptions. It was clear to us, to everybody watching, he was clearly not the best quarterback on the team at that point. Because of injury, clearly that we know that. He trotted him out there again against the Raiders. And I know we won, but it was still the point of, like, what more do you need to see? And this is the same exact conversation we had around Younghoe Koo about, if he's hurt, get somebody out there who's not hurt at least. Well, that's better than nothing.
At least with Younghoe Koo, you didn't really have a better option. Like, they went and got Riley Patterson, and that guy sucked too. And they probably could have found a better option than Riley Patterson. But at least, there wasn't a clear option on the roster. We didn't exactly know what Michael Penix was because we're not sitting there in practices and all this stuff. They knew. They knew this entire time the kind of potential that he had. They saw in practice every single day what we saw and what we're excited about over the last 3 weeks. So there's something to be said that Michael Penix was the best quarterback on this roster since week 1. Like he might have been, but especially
week 11.
And then also you're giving this caveat he didn't know he was hurt or anybody. There's 0% chance Raheem Morris did not know. Yeah. That's just you giving him the benefit of the doubt because you're being nice and you're trying to paint it. Even if
I'm trying to paint the scenario where fans are coming at me while trying to defend Raheem Morris. It's indefensible.
But that's not a realistic scenario. He knew he was hurt right away. Right, he knew exactly. Kirk Cousins isn't going to be sitting there lying into him. By the way, Kirk Cousins is getting treatment on this on every single day. You think Kirk's just nah, I'm going to try to hide this from the
organization. Shock therapy. No, I'm good.
I'm trying to my own personal guy to hide that I'm actually crippled. That didn't happen. He was getting full on treatment in the Falcons facility from trainers, everybody in the organization, from Terry Fontenot to Arthur Blank to Raheem Morris. And it's Raheem Morris's ultimate judgment call here. But Yeah, I mean, right, but on the flip side, right? Raheem Morris, not a great decision, but we could have probably said that even without the injury because what we saw from Michael Penix. But there is some good news in this. Like there's some light, right? If he is injured, the Kirk Cousins we saw over the first 9 games was a damn good quarterback. 4,500 yards, 32 touchdowns. Like that's kind of what we expect to Kirk Cousins. And it looks like he was getting stronger up until that Saints game. Like there were signs that we were like, hey, he's only going to get better as this season goes. And now we realize it was because of an injury that he fell off a cliff. If you're an inquiring team looking for a quarterback, a stopgap option that's not going to be super expensive. I know everyone's talking about Cleveland, but there are a lot of other teams that could be looking for an option like this. He's a year removed from the Achilles. It gives you a little bit of hope that, hey, let's try this out for 1 year. If it doesn't work, we're going to be in the market for a quarterback anyways in the top half of the draft. So there's probably going to be a team out there, if you're looking for good news, that'll be interested and maybe pull the trigger on a Kirk Cousins trade.
Yeah, absolutely. As soon as I was done fuming about Raheem Morris, I immediately, it is positive. This is a silver lining of all silver linings that you saw him, prior to week 10. That's a 9-game sample size. Like you just mentioned, over 17 games. If you stretch that 9-game sample size, it was nearly 4,500 yards and 34 touchdowns. Granted, it was to go along with about 17 interceptions.
No, it was 14.
14 interceptions. But even still, that's a great stat line, especially for an acquiring team who is going to only be on the hook for $26 million, a little over $26 million. For an NFL starting quarterback, that is pennies. I mean, in a day and age where they're getting $60 million a year, a $26 million guy who's giving you 4,500 yards and 34 touchdowns to only 14 interceptions is a bargain. So for all the, negativity that I really am giving off right now, I'm sorry, I can't help it. But this is the ultimate positive that the Falcons have a good chance of unloading Kirk Cousins' contract.
And thinking about the funny, just kind of a potential suitor, I think the Minnesota Vikings, J.J. McCarthy coming off that injury, don't want to pay Sam Darnold $26 million if they're not quite sure. And listen, even if they pay $26 million and J.J. McCarthy takes over midseason, kind of there's a lot worse things. It's better than paying Sam Darnold, 4 or 5 years, $200 million. So
and his contract is, while it has 2 more years after that, they're all non-guaranteed. Yeah. So an acquiring team is only on the hook for $26-ish million in 2025.
It is not a bad deal if you're expecting. And it's not a bad deal to just take it. Listen, if you don't have any options, there's a lot of teams that don't have options. They certainly don't have better options.
There aren't 32 good quarterbacks in the NFL.
Now, to the one last bad thing in all this that's kind of been brought up, and hopefully nothing comes of it, but Kirk Cousins is a gossip queen.
He's an idiot.
I mean, Kirk Cousins, right when we signed him, right, this was his introduction to Atlanta. He basically admits to the entire world at his opening press conference that tampering, and the Falcons lose a 5th round pick because of that, and now we only have 4 picks in this upcoming draft. Now he's on his way out the door. We're trying to move him. Obviously, he probably won't be with the organization. He just leaves us the one last hey, remember me? I'm Gossip Girl. What in the hell are you doing? Because you can't, guys, for those of you who don't know, you cannot manipulate the injury report. If some guy has a designation, his shoulder's injured, you have to let people know for a ton of purposes, for the other team, for gambling. There's a lot of reasons that the league requires this to happen, and the Falcons didn't do it. And team lose draft picks for that. So his parting gift could be hey, why don't you lose
one more draft pick?
It'll probably be a 6th or 7th rounder, hopefully nothing. But the Falcons don't exactly have a great standing with the league after tampering. They've been involved with the noise thing. They've been involved with
We had an injury issue
in
a couple of years ago with Arthur Smith. So this is nothing new for this organization.
I would not be surprised if we lose another.
And even more so than that, I'm sure some of the guys who are actually in the room will talk to Zeno about it. I know Zeno asked Raheem Morris point blank, and I know several other people around Atlanta media asked Raheem Morris point blank, even leading up to the benching, what's wrong? Is Kirk hurt? Is Kirk hurt? No. And then when they benched him, is it an injury thing? No, it's not an injury thing. And then we get this. I mean, if I'm back in Flowery Branch for the next press conference, whenever it is, probably draft time or free agency time, I don't even care what's going on in the news. I'm going, why did you lie to us?
I mean, listen, what have we said dating back? I mean, we've said this. We've done this show for 2-3 years, from a small show to being on Fox, whatever. We have straight up told you on this show, one of the only shows that will tell you the Atlanta Falcons are full of a bunch of liars. Yes. Every single thing that they say, you should take with a grain of salt. And this is just another example. And this is why I would and I think the media, because of
They
people
are
like
getting-
are starting to get a little bit of back, because they just lie to your damn face over and over and over again. They are the biggest liars in the world, and I don't want this to be beaten around the bush or no, they are straight up lying to us. So this is why we come on this show and we call them what they are. It's one of the only places you'll get this, because they just lie to you.
This is state-sponsored media. This is communist flowery branch. I mean, that's as safe to, and this goes back to Deshaun Watson when they try to, call us, fools for saying that we were heavily interested in Deshaun, had it at the finish line, and they go, no, we would never have that. And he's holding up a Browns jersey after the trade goes through with a Falcons jersey in the background.
And meanwhile, Adam Schefter, Jashina Anderson all confirmed that we were right at the finish line, and the Browns came swooping in. But, it is hilarious. I mean, the Bill Belichick, the coaching search, they will straight up lie to your face.
They're telling you you're idiots.
And they'll do this to the media. So you're starting to see the media punch back, and I'm very interested to see how they punch back, because this news, huge news, a lot of ramifications. We got a lot to talk about coming up after the break.